Just a very short PSA before I delve into the topic at hand. This video is made from the perspective of a male with no kids for the education of other males who don't have kids either. If you're not part of that group, if you have kids, if you're a woman, if you're outside of that group, you're welcome to listen, but your comments will be like an atheist commenting at a church budget meeting. You're free to do so. You're free to espouse your opinion, but it is irrelevant and it means nothing. 2. If you're the exception to the rule, if you say, I met a single mother and we've been together, we've been married, and we're living happily ever after, that's fine, but that does not disprove my logic. Just because you go off to war, you come back out of the trenches with all of your limbs, and you come back of psychological sound mind, doesn't mean you should recommend other men partake in that same activity. Now, without further delay, but when you say without further delay, it further delays it. Womp womp womp. I am speaking from experience. I have dated single mothers, scratch and sniff, casual dating, and I got into a long relationship with a single mother. I'm speaking from experience. If you're a man without kids, there is no net benefit to a kid in the relationship to you as a man. The kid is simply a buffer. It is an added obstacle to you and the woman. What kind of man would ever utter the words out loud, I want to date a woman and not be her main focus? If a woman has kids, and they'll tell you this if they're honest on dating profiles, their kids are their priority, which means you're not her main priority. If little Johnny isn't able to find a babysitter, you do not get to go on the date. Or she brings little Johnny along, you're paying for the family, you're paying for another man's kid, and instead of having intimate conversation, you're listening to little Johnny. Your schedule is going to be based on little Johnny. I worked in a factory for a couple years, worked the night shift, 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. I was talking to the single mother casually, wasn't ever serious. After she dropped off little Johnny at about 8 o'clock, I would come by her place, we would have a little fun, eat some breakfast, so on and so forth, and then by 10 o'clock, she had to leave. I got a 2-hour window with her. And then in between working, picking up little Johnny, taking little Johnny to his t-ball practice, dentist appointments, all of the responsibilities you have as a parent, she would come home, and at the end of the night, she would be completely exhausted. I would go by her house a couple hours before I went to work. Typically, she would put little Johnny to bed around 8 o'clock. I'd come there around 8:30, stay for a little while, and then head back to work and redo the cycle. But the point is, we had to do everything based upon her schedule. And if we didn't, instead of watching the game, I was watching Shrek. I was watching Frozen. After a long day, and sometimes I was working over, I was working 10, 11, 12-hour shifts. I just wanted to go to her place and, do what a man does. Little Johnny would be awake, and his real name's not Little Johnny, I'm just using that as an example. And he would always be rambunctious. Let's play, let's play, let's play. And he's a kid, he doesn't know. But after working a long shift, the last thing I want to do is play with another man's kid. It's just not the type of thing you want to do. And instead of going on fun vacations, like seeing the pyramids in Egypt, exploring Rome, you go to Disney World and you meet Mickey Mouse and you ride in the teacups. Now, if it's your own kids, it's one thing. But if it's another man's kids, why would you want to do that as a man? And then they give you all these obligations. The kids are having a birthday party. On your day off after working all week, you got to go to Chuck E. Cheese's to another kid's birthday party. Their kid is playing t-ball. You got to go to their t-ball games. Now, in 99.9% of cases, the relationship didn't work out unless the man died. And if you're young like me, that's a very rare occurrence. They broke up for a reason. The man is either in the kid's life or he's not, and both have advantages and disadvantages. If he's not in the kid's life, that means the girl has bad judgment. Why would you, with birth control, with all of the modern things that you possess now, why would you willingly spread your legs without protection with a man who is a deadbeat? That means you have bad judgment. And if that man's not in the kid's life, he's not paying any child support, you are forced to pay for another man's seed. As a man, you want to leave a legacy. You want your kids to carry on your lineage. Why would you want to carry on another man's lineage? But let's say, on the flip side, that there is, because it's one person, there is a man involved in the kid's life. They get him 50% of the time, 1 week on, 1 week off. What kind of man wants to deal with another man who slept with his girlfriend multiple times? And you've got to go meet them. I have a friend, he's dating a single mother. He has to go drive out of his way to go drop the kid off, back and forth. I can't think of any type of advantage to dating a single mother. I just can't. And by the way, if you marry a single mother and you divorce, you're responsible for another man's kids financially. You got to pay child support for not even your own kids. And in most cases, it's not going to work out. What's going to happen is it's going to be negative for you and the kid. The kid has a father that is not in its life anymore, or it's in its life 50% of the time, and then it meets another man who it bonds with, and that guy goes away. That can cause major abandonment issues within the kid when they grow up. And it can also cause a chain of reactions. Their relationships could be unstable. And of course, you're not a psychopath. You can really enjoy hanging out with the kid. And not only do you lose the mother, you also lose the kid. And since you're the stepfather, you're not ever going to see that kid again. And that's kind of a double middle finger. Why would you want to put yourself in that situation? In the serious relationship, what happened is I was talking to a single mother who was older. She was in her 40s. I'm in my early 30s. She had one kid, and the kid's 11. Our agreement initially is, okay, we're going to do what we can for the kid. I'm going to be as good as I can. And then once the kid reaches of age, it's going to go to college, it's going to work, whatever. But we're not going to have any more. But what happened was I did such a good job with her kid that she then got baby fever and she wanted to have another kid. And I'm like, you're in your mid 40s. If you have another kid, we'll be raising that kid when we're in our 60s and 70s. It's like, I don't want any part of that. Not for me. And also, her ex was a douchebag and we had to deal with him all the time. And he started to get into a custody case and things just went to shit and I just got out of there. I didn't want any part of it. On the one hand, she was pressuring me to have another kid. And then on the other hand, she was having all these issues with her ex. And I'm like, I want no part of this. And that's when I reached the conclusion that if you're a single man with no kids, even if you're a divorced man, but if you're a man with 0 kids, there is no advantage to dating a single mother. And I can't imagine her daughter. She's going to see that she doesn't have a father figure in the home. And that leads to a lot of negative things. If you want to laugh, if you want to snicker and giggle, go ahead and date a single mother. But just know that most likely it's going to turn out bad for all parties involved, including the kids.